Hey everyone, it's SunTypes back again with another video. Today I'm taking a look at some cards. I believe they are all from Pokemon Card 151, which is a new set that is coming out in some point. Paldea Evolves the next set, so obviously that's a big focus, but I want to take a quick break and look at some of the other cards that have been revealed. Also, I have no idea what order this is in. This is on the PokeBeach website, which I should have a link down below in the description. If not, there's one on my About section of my channel page, but it's a great source for Pokemon news. It's the best source. And let's just hop right into it. Also, of course, the set contains the original 151 Pokemon, starting with actually one that's very strong, which is going to be Weezing here. This coughing is not good. But the Weezing here, 110 HP. Its ability Explode Together. If this Pokemon is in the active and is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, flip a coin if heads the attacking Pokemon is knocked out. Additionally, Spinning Gas here, 50, and then 10 to each your opponent's bench Pokemon isn't amazing, but the ability here is really interesting, and I was actually talking with some people about it. And it actually could be very strong if you can just leave it in the active. Your opponent's not really going to want to hit into you with a multi-prizer, because then that can be very bad for them. So honestly, this in Zoroark base decks could be quite solid. I'm not sure how I feel about it quite yet, but I think it's a theoretically very strong card and one you want to look out for, and they can be very annoying to have to deal with. All of that being said, there are a lot of single prize Pokemon there seeing play, which don't really mind hitting into Weezing that much. So it's pretty solid, I think. One to look out for. Next up is Old Helix Fossil. And Old Amber Fossil. These are just pre-evolution fossils, and they do have abilities here, but they're pretty generic. This one stops stadiums from being played, which isn't actually awful. And this other one here says prevent effects of abilities done to this. This one's the one that, of course, goes into Ammonite, and this is the one that goes into Aerodactyl. I think we're going to be looking at those today, but we might have already seen them. I don't remember. And then we have a Meowth here. This one's kind of bad. It has a Gust and a Coin Flip. Just a generic card. And now we have this Beedrill here. This Beedrill is actually kind of interesting. For 2 colors, of course, it's a stage 2. You do 30, and if you don't have any cards in hand, this does... Oh, I haven't actually looked at... Have I looked at this? I feel like I have, but this one looks cool. I think I have. But it does 150 damage if you have no cards in hand, and your opponent's active is now poisoned to paralyzed. There are various ideas here. One, of course, being you can use Peony to get your hand down to none, and also to search out rare candy. But now that we don't have Evolution Incense, I'd say it's definitely much worse, so that might not be a super viable strategy. But overall, I think this Beedrill could be interesting and could be very solid. It's certainly awkward. I don't think it's going to be amazing, but poison and paralysis is good, right? That's just good, and you can paralyze every turn, and it's scary to deal with. So honestly, I think this Pokemon's all right. I don't think it's amazing, but I'm also looking at this in Meowscarada decks because that's a cool deck and a Grass Stage 2 base deck, so this could be good in that. Next up, we have a Dragonite, a Hitmonlee, and a Dodrio. So starting off with a Hitmonlee here, and we will look at, I think, Hitmon. I don't remember. I want to say it's Hitmontop, but was that one of the original 151? I don't remember. I don't believe it was, but... Anyways, this Hitmonlee here, it does 10 to each your opponent's Pokemon for 1 fighting, which isn't bad, and 100 for 3, and then 120 HP. This is okay. It's not particularly good. I don't think it'll see much play at all, but, it's not the worst thing in the world. Also, I think I have too many tabs open. PokeBeach is getting unhappy, or something's getting unhappy. But anyways, next up we have Dragonite here, which has an attack that says... Well, first of all, its attack's kind of bad, but its ability here says your Pokemon in play have no retreat cost, and this attack is 180 for 2, and then you mill 2 cards from your own deck. The attack's not great. The ability is not amazing either. I don't think this card is going to see any play, but it's not the worst card I've seen either. And now this Dodrio, which is actually very good, in my opinion. Its ability here says you must put a damage counter on this Pokemon in order to use this ability, and then you draw a card. But putting the damage counter here is actually good. This is actually very similar to Spiritomb from Unbroken Bonds. Let's attack here for 1 colorless. It does 10 damage and 30 more for each damage counter on this Pokemon. If it has 9 damage counters on, you're going to be hitting 280 damage. So that's very good, very strong. You can even boost its HP, I think. Maybe not. I was thinking there was, but there might just be damage reduction options. But certainly there are ways of boosting your damage with cards like Defiance Band and also... something like Choice Belt. So you can go and stick those on to Dodrio to do more damage, which is very solid. And of course, drawing cards as an engine. I think this card is really cool. I like it. It's not the strongest engine by any means, and it's not the strongest attacker by any means either. But it's very nice. Also, it's of course its typing's not good, but the fact it's a stage 1 single prizer means it can hit through pretty much anything, which is nice. Next up, we have a Pincer. This one's not amazing. It does 180 if you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent. But also, you could run this in Lost Zone box. I don't despise this, but I think it's okay. I'm tempted to say it's okay. In Lost Zone in particular, we have seen similar types of attackers to this, but honestly, I'm not sure. I'm interested in actually hearing your thoughts on this Pincer here. This is probably the card that we've looked at so far that I'm most unsure of. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's not amazing. It hits hard, but if grass type becomes a good weakness to be hitting, this is certainly going to be a good option, though. Next up, we have Eradicate and Tauros. I'll go to Tauros here first. This Tauros is bad. It searches for basic, or it allows you to do more damage for each damage count on it, but not that much. Eradicate. Okay, this Eradicate's actually interesting, though. Second bite, it does 30. Plus 30 more for each damage count on your opponent's active. Wow, that's actually very strong. I believe that's what it does. Yeah, so that's actually a ton. So, of course, if your opponent, if you hit into them with, say you have 7 damage counters on them, you're going to be hitting 210. So, well, actually more than that. But it's very good. You might have double turbo, but I think this is a attack and Zoroark based decks is very good. I think this Eradicate will definitely see play. I think it's super strong. That being said, you need to kind of figure out how to work it into your decks and be careful. Possibly some spread-based Miss Magus deck. In some ways, it's kind of like Mimikyu as well from Lost Origin, which does more damage counter for each damage counter your opponent hasn't played on anywhere in their board. So this is kind of interesting here. Next up, Electabuzz and Magmar. They do more damage if the other one's on the bench. They're not amazing, but they're not awful. There's actually an Electivire and Magmortar with similar attack effects, so that's kind of interesting. And I don't think these are going to see much play, but they're kind of an interesting idea. And this Electabuzz does very little damage. It does 50, so if it did more, I think it would have been much better, obviously. 50 I don't think is good enough to ever see play, but Magmar here can do 160 for 3 on a basic, which isn't awful. It's not just that. You need the other Pokemon on the bench, and it's very awkward to power up. If we had a card like Welder, I think this could see play. But of course we don't have that. So I don't imagine this Magmar will be seeing any play. But still an interesting consideration in the back of your mind, and I think it's not an awful card by any means. Next up, we have a Parasect, and then the Rigid Band, which is good. But Parasect here is okay. It says, Scatter Fungus, flip 2 coins for each head, search your deck for a Grass Pokemon, and put it onto your bench, then shuffle your deck. This allows you to get Grass Pokemon straight onto your bench, as opposed to just basics. It allows you to get evolutions, like stage 2s. I'm notably looking at Masquerada here. Masquerada EX, which is a very solid Pokemon, and one that you want lots of it out. It doesn't necessarily need to be attacking either to be providing value. So I think this Parasect actually is a very strong synergy with that card. Although I'm not sure, honestly, if it's going to be amazing or if it's not good enough. I think it has some interesting ideas. Of course, it's random as well, so that's not a great feeling. Next up, a Rigid Band here is actually a very solid card. A tool card that says the stage 1 Pokemon this card is attached to takes 30 less damage from attacks. And then it's like a tool, not an item anymore. So that's kind of interesting. I think this is very solid because it makes your stage 1 just much tankier, and I think stage 1s are kind of looking to be tanky in this upcoming meta, but are lacking a few tools, and I think this is the tool that is going to help them a lot. Notably, I'm looking at cards like Oinkologne EX, Wigglytuff EX, and other similar cards. So I'm excited for this one. And then next up we have our boy Pikachu. Oh wait, these are just the character variants. Okay, now yeah, speaking of Wigglytuff EX, Jigglypuff is not amazing but not awful. But Wigglytuff EX has an ability that says if it has any special energy, it gets 100 more HP. Of course, you could have a wide variety of special energy, including I believe therapy energy, which can be accelerated with the other Wigglytuff coming in the next expansion, Paldea Evolved. So that's going to be interesting, and I honestly think that'll be pretty solid. But in addition to that, its attack here for 3 colors, it does 90, but 180 if you play a supporter from your hand this turn, which is highly likely. You want to be doing that every turn. Oh, apparently this set will be releasing this fall. Okay, that's useful. Um, in Japan in June. So yeah, Wigglytuff EX here is really interesting, allowing you to be a solid attacker, but more importantly, be a very good tanky-based Pokemon. Getting 350 HP, taking 30 less with that other card we just looked at, Rigid Band. So honestly, I think this card's very strong. Even hitting it for weakness, you're not necessarily KOing it. I think Wigglytuff EX will be very solid, and I'm really excited for this one. This is quite possibly the best card we will be looking at and we've seen. Next up, we have Gengar and Haunter and Ghastly. So once on your turn, you may. Oh, yeah, this is the one that's like a really bad version of Versus Seeker where you recover your opponent's supporters. And then you have Poltergeist. And Sorry, guys. And Poltergeist says you look at your opponent's hand, do 50 for each trainer you find there. And Horror Attack 110 and put 3 damage counts on your opponent's bench in any way you like. This isn't that bad. Also, this art's like super funky. I really like it though. But yeah, this Gengar is kind of weird. Obviously, there's the idea that has synergy with the Haunter. It's not amazing, but it's interesting, and the idea is kind of cool. Still, I'd say it's a bad card. Next up, we have Farfetch'd, which is bad. It draws 2 cards and just 30 for 1. These aren't awful. This is like the definitive theme deck Pokemon, I'd say. So if we see theme decks, this is a perfect option, but, you know, it's kind of bad. Next up, we have a Gyarados, which says when you evolve it, you have to discard the top 5 cards of your deck, which is bad. This attacker is an amazing 200 for 4 and discard an energy attached to the defending Pokemon. Not the worst thing in the world, but again, not great. 190 HP, though, is very nice, certainly. Now, Butterfree. You can force your opponent to switch their active, or you can choose one of your opponent's bench and shuffle that Pokemon and all cards attached into their deck. Sorry about that. And then shuffle this Pokemon and all cards attached into your deck. So that's the main attack here as a spot removal type card. Is it amazing? No, but I don't know. It's not the worst thing in the world either. It theoretically could be played in a Regigigas control deck with Slowbro, I think. I don't know. I've seen Slowbro talked about some, but I don't know how good this is, but it's certainly an interesting idea, and it's kind of cool. Anyways, looks like, yeah, this is still unhappy. Yeah, I don't know why Pokeweed's just being unhappy. But anyways, speaking of unhappy, these cards are kind of making me unhappy. They're bad. This Vulpix is, of course, bad, and this Lapras is also not awful. But it's not great. It's just for Pokemon. It does okay damage. Very generic. Yes, the Rhydon and the Persian. So there's a card called Giovanni's Charisma, which is actually very good as it accelerates energy and removes energy, I believe. So I'm really excited for that card. I think it's very solid. But then you have this Rhydon here that says if you play Giovanni's Charisma this turn, you do 140 more damage. So 180, that's pretty solid. It only accelerates 1 energy, though, so you still can attack with it. So I don't love it. And then this Persian here says once during your turn, you may search your deck for Giovanni's Charisma, reveal it, and put it in your hand, and then shuffle your deck. Honestly, I don't hate this. But I don't love it either. I don't know how good Giovanni's Charisma is going to be. I heard a lot of people saying here that they think it's going to be really bad, which I don't know. I don't agree with that. I think Giovanni's Charisma is good, but I don't remember. I need to take a second look at it as well. But nothing crazy here. I don't think this Rhydon's amazing. I think this person's okay as well, but, you know, I don't think you'll see a ton of play. And next up, actually, this really interesting Spearow Pharaoh here. Spearow can evolve turn 1, going second. And then Pharaoh here can search for 3 cards, put into your hand, then shuffle your deck. You're looking at this in, of course, control-based decks. And 50 as well isn't awful, but not amazing either. So you can apply a little bit of pressure and also, of course, search for those cards. I actually really like this card. I don't think it's amazing, but it's cool, it's simple, and I think it'll get the job done when you need it to, allow you to search and set up pretty decently. Of course, it does take some commitment, but it also has free retreat, which is really nice. So I think this Fear will actually see a little bit of play. Not a ton, but just enough to make it cool, I suppose. Next up, we have Gloom and Vileplume. And the Vileplume is translated here as well. So Gloom here says when you evolve into it, you may look at the top 3 cards of your deck and accelerate any basic energy you find there to your Pokemon any way you like. And Vileplume does that, but for the top 8 cards of your deck. A lot of people are hating on this, but this is very solid, I think, allowing you to finally be able to like accelerate energy very universally. Someone compared it to Trumbeak. It's similar to that. And of course, getting a stage 2 is kind of awkward, but I think this Gloom's going to be really cool. And the Vileplume together, allowing for an energy vamp style deck. First, we've seen a lot of very powerful forms of energy acceleration in the past, so this isn't quite strong enough to compete with them, I wouldn't say, but in some ways it's very good. So I think this will actually see play. I'm really excited for it. Next up, we have Ninetales EX. This one says if you have the same number of cards in your hand, so first of all, you can do burn in 30 for one fire, which isn't awful, but not amazing. 260 HP, but then 80 if you have the same number of cards in your hand as your opponent. You do 220 for 2 attachments on a stage 1. That's not bad at all, but it's not amazing either. I think you're looking for this to be a bit stronger for you to be able to make solid use out of it. That's not new cards. But lastly, we have a few other ones. Clefairy, Clefable, and Hitmonchan. Okay, it is Hitmonchan. That makes more sense. Hitmonchan says if it's this is when you're active and damaged by your opponent's attack, put 3 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. That is, of course, very good here, allowing you to do some return damage. But again, it's not a ton of damage. So it's not like the best thing in the world, but it's a nice ability to have. An Excited Punch during your next turn, or Excited Punch. During your next turn, this Pokemon's Excited Punch does 60 more, so we'll be doing 120. This is not a great card, quite frankly. There's not too much to say about it, but it's just not amazing. And then we also see Clefairy, allowing you to search for other Clefairies and put them onto your bench, and this is Psychic. And then Follow Me, you can Gust, which isn't bad, but not amazing. Additional Moon, 50 if your opponent's active. If your opponent's Pokemon is knocked out by damage from this attack, take 1 more. I don't despise this because it's, it can be very difficult to deal with. And you're probably looking at this with the Clefairy that accelerates Psychic Energy. I really like this Clefable. Also, Follow Me as a Gust option is very difficult to deal with sometimes if you're not prepared for it. So honestly, I really like this Clefable. Like, it's an option in various decks, but I hope this sees play. It could see me play in Gardevoir EX. But yeah, it's cool. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, it was like a quick little one. Not that quick, but one where I talked about the new card reveals, and I'm really excited for this set. Of course, I'm very excited for Paldea Evolved as well. And if you are excited to see videos where me talking about this set or Paldea Evolved and playing new Paldea Evolved decks, please subscribe. I promise I'm going to release a lot of videos about that set. I'm busy right now, but when it comes out, we got we got under a week with live dropping fully as well. So yeah, I'm excited for that. Very nervous, but very excited. And then we're going to be playing. I will bring you content for the new decks, new cards, all that cool stuff. But I hope you're excited too. I'm really interested in hearing what your thoughts are as well. So please feel free to leave that down below in the comments. And I hope you enjoyed. And as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video. See ya.